Alright, I'm going to be working on an S185 Bobcat front bucket cylinder. Had a seal busted out on it, so I'll show you how to replace the seals inside. I've got my new seal kit here from Bobcat, and I've got my cylinder loose. And right down here on the front we can see the where it's blowing out. So we're going to get that set up in the vise, use our spanner wrench, get that loose, and then we'll go through the replacement of that. Alright, so I got the cylinder set up here in the vise. I put a pin through it right here just to keep it from rotating. I don't have the machine here. I'm working on it for one of my buddies, so I don't have the machine here, but another option you've got is to just leave this end in the machine when you go to get the end out here. So I don't have that option, but I do have a spanner wrench. You can use another means of opening this up right here, but I've got my spanner wrench, so I've already got it adjusted. We'll see if we can get the cap to come off here. And probably need to put a bucket so when you open this up you can catch any extra. So the seals on here don't really look all that bad. It's like I said, it's the one right in there, and you can see where it's been blown out. So there's two. We'll get those things out here shortly. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull the rod out. It's not very long. Alright, so here's the rod and the piston. Got it laying out here on the bench. Got my seal kit. I'm going to go ahead and open up that seal kit and just make sure that I've got what I need. But just at a glance, I'm seeing pretty much all my parts in there, so I think we're fine. The nut on the back side here has to be torqued down at 100 foot-pounds, so we'll probably stick that thing back in the vise in order to get it out. But you always want to inspect inside the cylinder and make sure there's not any scoring or anything on the inside, which this one's nice and clean. I checked it out, kind of hard to see on the video here, but it's all cleaned up. No issues with that. So we'll go ahead and get the rod into the vise. So as you can see, the nut on the back is on there pretty tight, so I end up using a jack handle and my 3/4 inch breaker bar with a 1/2 inch or 1.5 inch socket on here, and should have this thing popped loose now, so I'll be able to take the rest of that apart. Again, the torque on this nut's 100 foot-pounds. When I was at my Bobcat dealership today getting the parts, I asked one of the service guys, and he looked it up for me. So 100 foot-pounds. Alright, so we're back over to the bench here. I've opened up my parts kit, and it's Bobcat parts kit 6806330. And that's for the S185. So here's the piston part that we took off just a few minutes ago, and the nut. So we got this seal to replace, which will be this guy right here. So we got that. There's our nut. Nothing inside, that just goes right on the rod right here. I'll go ahead and pull this off. And so then we've got an O-ring and an orange piece there. I'm not sure quite what it's called, but there's that. And the orange piece will go towards the outer part of the cylinder. And we got an O-ring right up here that's going to seal up, so that's this one. So I've got that. Now if we look inside here, here's the reason why we had problems. I can see it in there. There's a nick on that inner seal, so we got those two seals here. The inner one will be the one with the spring, and the spring always faces the oil pressure, so it'll be facing inward. So in our case, it'll be facing down. And then we've got the outer piece that will go right there. So it looks like, just at a glance, we got this one extra O-ring in there. I don't see anywhere on this that it goes, so I'm going to revert back to the parts diagram that I got from Bobcat. One of the service guys did mention that some of the kits may have had more seals than others. They made an update and combined a single seal to a double or vice versa. So I'm just going to double check that, make sure that I don't miss anything. And just at a glance, it looks like that underneath this is this O-ring. So those two are going to go like that. So it's right underneath here, and we'll see that once this comes apart. There's the old nut, so I'm just going to keep it off to the side. So yeah, there's the what's 2, 4, 6, 7 O-rings and seals here that go in. Not a whole lot makes it up, so we're going to start getting that torn apart. Let's go ahead and pull out this outer seal. It's pretty much gone. So there's that. And that one inside, man, that's rough. So it doesn't take much to get it out of there. There's the spring, and again, that spring is down towards the pressure. So we got those two out, and there's still a little bit left of that. There it is. So that was definitely the problem. He had hydraulic oil seeping out the end of the rod there. So let me get a rag. We're going to clean that up. I'm going to go ahead and put in that inner seal. Saw a trick. If you crease in one side and push the other ones around, this one's kind of difficult to do that. In fact, I'm just going to try to push it in like this. There's a way you can use needle nose pliers to make that go in there. I can't quite get this one to bend without knocking that spring out of there. This is the hardest seal out of the bunch. Alright, so I got that pushed in there. I'm just going to inspect it to make sure, I don't know if you can see it, but make sure everything is, nothing's overlapped there and everything's good. And it is. Alright, so we'll go ahead and do this outer, and it fits in a groove. There's a groove right here along the side, so it's just going to fit underneath that lip. And there's that one. So there's just not a whole lot to it, pretty straightforward. Go ahead and pull this O-ring out. So it's the one that seals up. Alright, so I've got the other O-rings off, and I've cleaned up around the edge here, and we'll go ahead and install the new ones. So we'll put the outermost one on first. Just kind of roll it down through there. Okay, so there's that one, not much to it. Put the orange one on next. Remember, when we took it off, it's got to be towards the front of the cylinder, so slide it back against here like so. Alright, so there's that one, and then we've got the larger O-ring. Let's fit right in there like that, and that's it. That whole section right there is completely resealed. So we got 3 outer seals, 2 inners. So those are completed. Set that off to the side here. We'll move on to the piston here in the back. And I'm just going to wipe that down real fast so it's not so slick. Now I'm just looking for any kind of nicking or anything on the outer edge, which I don't see any. Looks pretty good shape. Alright. May have to get something a little sharper to get down in there. Alright, so here's the outer piece. I can see that other brown O-ring in there now, which I did not see earlier. So there's that one. So there's the replacement, and then here's the inner. So down in that is also another very small O-ring. So work that out with my straight screwdriver. There it is. Clean everything up again. Make sure there's no foreign particles. Put the brown O-ring back down in there first. We'll get the orange one. This orange one's not really an O-ring. This thing is, I don't really know what kind of material it is, but it's pretty stout here, so just work it around. There it went. Now I got a twist in that thing right there, so I got to watch when this thing goes down in the groove. So right now all I'm doing is just getting that twist out of it. Alright, so I got the twist out and I'm just going to slide it right on in. It just snap right in place. Doesn't really snap in place, it just falls in place. Now when I push it over, there's still a little twist to it, so I'm going to go back through here and work it around where it's all flat. One little spot right there. I think that's just kind of where the O-ring's pushing it up. So we'll have to really watch that when we go to slide it into the tube to make sure that doesn't get rolled out. Because honestly, it sticks out a little bit more than what I care to see. But once it gets started in there, it'll lay in its place. So we'll have to watch that. Alright. Clean the rod up, and then we'll be ready to put this thing back together. I'm going to use some Lucas assembly lube on my seals, inner seals, and the rod. I'll just help everything slide together here. We don't want to tear anything. Alright, so I got that lubed. Go ahead and just slide this together. So slide it down over that very carefully because we don't want to. Alright, there we go. So we've got that on. Now we'll take the piston. It's got this machine portion that will fit right over the end of the rod here, so that's going to go on first. Grab the new nut. it's already got some thread lock on it from the kit, so we don't have to really do anything there. Get that thing started. That's 1.5 inches, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that down. Okay, and there's that. Now, like I said earlier, we've got to torque this at 100 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna get it set back up in the vise, and we'll put the torque wrench on it and torque it up, and then we'll solder back together. Alright, so I got my torque wrench set to 100 foot-pounds. I've got my rod back into the bench here, or into the vise, and I'm just going to torque this thing down at 100 foot-pounds. And to me, that seems awful light, and that's what the spec is. So I'll double check. Yep, 100 foot-pounds. Yep. Alright, torque down. We're going to slide it back into the tube. So it's going to be real cautious when we slide it in here. Make sure everything goes in as planned. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of this Lucas assembly lube on there just to make sure everything slides together as it needs to. Alright, so back in there. Just going to get this end started. That's pretty much it. Once I get this tightened down, I'm going to put that Spaner wrench on there. I'm going to snug it up good and tight, and then it's done. So that's a S185 Bobcat skid steer tilt cylinder for your bucket. Hit like and subscribe.